Hi everyone, it's Lisa from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel and thanks for dropping by. Now today's soap is another collaboration soap, and this time it's a much bigger collaboration. It's a worldwide collaboration. I'm sure you've probably seen them on YouTube. About sort of every 3 months or so there is a YouTube collaboration that we hold. And this collaboration, we had to do something in our soap that represented a memory that we had, and also another criteria that we needed to try and fulfill, but it wasn't compulsory, was that we needed to make some sort of mould to use in our soap, whether that was for an embed for the top or an embed for the inside. Now, the memory for my soap, I've got lots of memories like we all have, I'm sure we have. And being the time of year that this is going to be a December soap, I did want to do a wintry type memory. So one of the things that I always remember in winter is building snowmen. And me and my brother and my sister, we always used to go out and build some snowmen, and our dad would always come out as well. I'm the youngest kid of 4, and I just remember the way we built snowmen. I'm sure it's probably a standard way. You'd make a big snowball and then you'd roll it and roll it and roll it, and it would get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I remember so many times rolling these huge, great big snowballs, and eventually they'd go through the snow a little bit, wouldn't they? And you'd get that bit of mud stuck on them and maybe a bit of grass sticking out. And that's just one of the great memories that I have. I also always remember trying to balance the snowman's head precariously on top, and my dad always helping me out. It was always my job to put in the little snowman face and the snowman carrot and some little buttons down the snowman's shirt. I could never reach the hat on the top because I was only little, so my dad would always put the hat on. So that's the memory for my soap for me. So come on, let's go and make some soap.
I'm going to start my soap by making an embed for my snowman. So first of all, I'm going to mix up some soap batter and colour it black so I can make the snowman's hat. When my batter's emulsified, I'm going to weigh out the correct amount of fragrance oil and add that in. The fragrance oil I'm using is Snow Fairy from Craftastic in the UK. Now, I don't at the moment have an assessment for this fragrance oil, so it's one I'm just trying out. I've done a little tester sample on it and it did discolour a little bit. So I'm just going to test it in a bigger batch and see what I feel about it and whether I want to then take it through and maybe get an assessment with this fragrance oil in it. Once I'm happy that everything's all combined and my batter is at a nice light trace, I'm then just going to pour this into one section of my mould. This is the mould that I made for the collaboration, and it's a snowman mould, as you can see, done in 2 parts. And you'll see how it all comes together as we go through this video. This first section of the mould is the snowman's head. So I'm just pouring my black batter in here because I've also created a hat on the snowman's head at the base of this mould. Once that's poured in, I'm just going to let it set up for a little while. Now I want to create a couple of shapes in my snowman, so I've made this handy dandy double-ended scraper. The first thing that I'm going to use is the sort of just the almost the circular bit, and that's just to scrape the bottom of the hat so that it does a nice shape against the snowman's head. And once that's done, I'll leave that for a few minutes just to make sure it's nice and firmly set up. So next I've mixed up some white soap batter. I've already mixed this and put my fragrance oil in it because I'm sure you don't need to see that again. And I'm going to use this to finish off the head in the first section and then create the bulk of the body in the second section. I've extruded some little strips of soap dough and allowed them to harden up for a few hours. Nothing fancy, it's just been done with just a basic little hole in the extruder. So I've got some black ones that I'm going to use for buttons and the snowman's eyes, and an orange one that I'm going to use for his carrot nose. So in goes our white soap batter to the same side that we poured the black in, so still doing the head. Now this is getting a little bit thicker than I'd really like it to, but it's not too bad, so we'll still cope with it. So I've just poured a small amount in and given it a good old shake to level it out, and then I'm just going to drop in 2 of those strips of soap dough to make the snowman eyes. A little bit more of my white soap. And then I'll drop in my little orange strip of soap dough, and that's going to be the nose. And then I'll fill the rest of that side up with some more white soap. And I'm going to flatten the top of this off. I don't actually want the bottom of the snowman's head to be round because that will make it really difficult to stack my snowman. So I am going to deliberately have a slightly flat bit at the bottom. And then I'll take the rest of the soap batter and fill in the second cavity in the mould. And as you can see, it's getting a little bit thick here, which isn't ideal, but it's going to be okay. We'll just sort of shake it all down a little bit. And then I'm going to take the little black extruded bits of soap dough that I've got left and drop those into the mould as I start filling it up to make the buttons in the snowman's body. Once that's all done, I'm going to smooth that surface out a little bit. I'm not too worried at this moment about it being flat to the top because I want to scrape out the scarf. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I'm now using the other end of that scraper, and I've actually designed this scraper so that if you drop the snowman's buttons in the centre of the snowman body, then the scarf will actually miss them as you scrape through. And then just a little bit of a tidy up to get rid of any excess soap batter, and again we'll just leave that to sit for a while to make sure it's nice and firm. And then we'll just finish off our snowman by adding in the scarf, and I'm just going to use a nice bit of red soap for this bit. So I left that to set up overnight, and here we are the next day, and I thought we'd do the unmolding on the video rather than just showing you the unmolded soaps. So I'm just going to gently pull away the silicone edges first of all, and this silicone that I use always just unmolds really beautifully. And then once the sides are released, I'll then just pop the embed out. The next thing I did was make some stick arms for the snowman, and I just did that by making an extruded disc, and I'm just extruding that brown soap dough. And then when that was done, I started working on the people that I wanted. I wanted to have a little sort of soap dough person that's supposed to represent me, and then another one that's supposed to represent my dad putting the hat on top of the snowman. Now, I had no specific way of actually doing this, so I just took various bits of soap dough and modelled the shapes that I wanted to make each of the parts. So what I'm going to do is just set this to a little bit of music and just drop in some bits and pieces of annotations on the screen every now and again, just so you can keep track of what I'm doing.
There's some stains on your photo, little cracks on your rusty frame, stuck in the mud, but it's okay. I don't have the pieces of you buried in the flashbacks. All these wicked nightmares has gone cold. Now we go way, way back, as far as way back goes. Still standing by your side. You know I'll be right here when all the monsters come. I've got you. You grew old in suburbia, where pretty demons never show, shifting shapes in millennia, but you're okay. I don't have the pieces of you buried in the flashbacks. All these wicked nightmares has gone cold. Now we go way, way back, as far as way back
So once our embeds are all made, I can now make the base of the soap. I'm going to start off with the ground. Now, one thing I am a bit conscious of is I don't want this to just turn into a white soap where you can't see anything. So I am going to put a bit of green in the ground, even though it's going to be snow covered, just so it sort of identifies it as the ground and separates it from the colour of the snowman. This green is just a blend that I make up myself, so I can't really give you a supplier for it or anything. I'm also going to make up some white to give us the bulk of this ground colour for our snow, and obviously I'm just using titanium dioxide for that. And once I've measured and added in my fragrance oil, I'm just going to do an in the pot swirl to give my first layer of soap for the main body. I let that first layer set up quite a bit because it's got to hold all of those embeds that we've made. And then let's get those embeds in. So first of all, there's little old me. And then I'm just dropping a twig, a snowman's arm, down at the base of my feet because I want one to look like it's just on the floor waiting to be put in. In goes our snowman right in the middle there. And then my little soap dough dad, and it's getting quite a tight squeeze in here. So once they're all in, I've made up some more soap batter just to complete the soap. I've got one portion that I'm just putting a tiny touch of blue in, so again I can differentiate the sky from the snowman and the ground. And then I've got some really finely chopped up bits of soap shreds that I've just literally just chopped with a knife and made them really, really small, popping those into that blue batter so they'll look like snow. And then after I've added in my fragrance oil, I'm just going to do another in the pot swirl for the sky. Now I'm just going to have to be really careful to make sure I fill in all the gaps in my soap, and I am going to have to wiggle my embeds around to make sure I can get right down between them, which is made a little bit more difficult by having the soap shreds in there as well. And then in goes that last snowman arm, and I'm aiming to drop this in so it looks like the little model of me is holding it and trying to put it into the snowman. And then just a final tidy round and just dropping in the rest of those little shreds that I've got to add some extra snow. I did finish off the top with the last little dribbles of some of that blue soap batter that I had and just swirled it in. And then for the very top, I've just extruded some more bobble hats. I actually extruded them in two colours, and then I swapped the bobble and the hat over on the bobble hats. And now I'm just going to drop those onto the top of the soap to finish it off. So after the soap was complete, I covered it and I C-popped it. So I popped it into an oven that was preheated to 70 degrees C, 160 degrees F, turned the oven off straight away as the soap went in and left it there overnight. So let's have a look at what we've got inside. So here we go with our fast bars. I quite like that. My dad's got a bit of a lean on him and he's leaning back a bit. And that would have been due to the fact that I had to keep sort of moving the embeds around to make sure I filled the soap in around them. Oh, I do quite like it. It kind of reminds me of the type of drawing that I would have done and when I was younger, after perhaps you'd had a day outside mucking around in the snow and then you'd come in and got your colouring books out and drawn yourself a picture of what you'd been doing. If you're watching this video on December the 1st, today is the day that there is a shop update at iDreaming Soap. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below where you'll find lots of new soaps, some wintry soaps and some Christmas soaps and everything up for sale. Obviously this snowman embed mould and lots of other tools and things if you wanted to go and have a look. I hope you've enjoyed this video, everyone. If you have, it would be great if you left me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see what I'm doing in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? If you've got any questions or queries, then please leave them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy soaping!